You ever go to the doctor with a sore throat and they give you a lollipop? It's great. But what if instead of a lollipop, their brilliant medical solution involved a hammer, some leeches, or a nice, refreshing radioactive cocktail? For most of history, the line between healing and just creatively hurting someone was terrifyingly thin. Today we're looking at some treatments and asking that eternal question, medicine or medieval torture? Let's get right into it. Number 6 is the ultimate detox. Imagine you've got a bit of a cold, you feel sluggish, maybe a little feverish. You go to see the doctor, and after a thoughtful pause, he declares the problem is simple. Your body has too much blood in it. The solution, even simpler. He needs to let some of it out. For your health. This wasn't some back alley quack. For over 2,000 years, this was the gold standard of medicine, practiced by the most respected physicians on the planet. This was bloodletting, all based on the ancient and incredibly wrong theory of the four humors. The idea was that your body was filled with four liquids: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. A healthy person had these four fluids in perfect balance, but if you had too much of one, it would throw your whole system out of whack. Too much phlegm made you tired, too much yellow bile made you angry, and too much blood. That caused fevers, infections, and basically everything else. So, the cure wasn't to add anything, but to subtract. They needed to drain the excess humor to restore balance. To achieve this, doctors had a few tools in their kit. They might use a special knife called a lancet to make a small, precise incision. Or, for a more organic approach, they'd pop a few leeches on you and let them do the work. They weren't trying to torture you, they were trying to recalibrate you. It was like your body was a bucket of soup that was too salty, and their only solution was to ladle some of the soup out. Congratulations, your fever might be gone, but that's probably because you've fainted from the procedure. But hey, at least you're not out of balance anymore. Number 5 is the vacation that hates you. Feeling a little stressed out? Anxious. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, if you were a woman suffering from what they called hysteria or nervous, could mean anything from mild depression to just having opinions, doctors had the perfect prescription. The rest cure. And it sounds developed by a physician named Silas Weir Mitchell, the rest cure was designed to soothe the supposedly overstimulated female mind. The treatment involved being confined to a bed in a darkened room for 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes longer. You were forbidden from doing anything. No reading, no writing, no sewing, no talking, and absolutely no getting up, except for the barest of necessities. You were to be completely isolated from friends and family. To top it all off, you were often put on a diet of rich, fatty foods and force-fed by a nurse to build up your reserves. The goal was to enforce total, mind-numbing passivity. The torture here wasn't physical, but psychological. Patients were driven to the brink by the sheer, crushing boredom and isolation. The theory was that by shutting down all intellectual and physical activity, the nervous system would reset itself. In reality, it was a way to punish women for not conforming to social norms. The cure was so unbearable that patients would eventually promise to behave perfectly, just to be allowed to see the sun or read a newspaper again. So, in a twisted way, it worked, not because it healed anyone, but because it made normal life seem like a paradise in comparison. Number 4 is a whole lot of problems. Let's say you're living a few thousand years ago and you're suffering from terrible migraines, seizures, or maybe just a bad attitude. You go to the village healer, who listens to your symptoms, nods thoughtfully, and declares that the problem is obvious. You have a demon trapped in your head, or possibly some bad air. Either way, it needs to get out. And the most logical way to facilitate that, by carving an escape hatch directly into your skull. This is trepanation, one of the oldest surgical procedures known to man. We're talking Stone Age old. Archaeologists have found skulls from all over the world with these neat, circular holes bored into them. For thousands of years, the prevailing wisdom was that many internal ailments were caused by malevolent spirits or pressure building up inside the cranium. The only way to relieve that pressure and let the evil out was to create an opening. Using tools ranging from sharpened flint to early metal drills, the practitioner would get to work on giving that pesky spirit a permanent eviction notice. The most shocking part of all this isn't that they did it, It's that a surprising number of people survived. We know this because many of the ancient skulls show clear signs of healing, with the bone growing smoothly around the edges of the hole. This means the person lived for months, or even years, walking around with what was essentially a custom-installed sunroof for their brain. While we see a procedure straight out of a horror film, they saw a perfectly rational solution. It's like your head is a shaken-up can of soda, and the only way to stop it from exploding is to puncture it first. Sure, it's messy, but it solves the immediate problem. Number 3 is your daily dose of mummy. Today, when you need a remedy, you go to the pharmacy. For centuries, however, if you wanted the most potent, top-shelf medicine, you went to a much stranger supplier, an Egyptian tomb. Because for a very long time, one of the most popular cure-alls in Europe was a powder made from ground-up ancient Egyptian mummies. And no, this was not a fringe practice. This was mainstream. This was a key part of corpse medicine, and the star of the show was a substance called mummia. The belief was that the resins and bitumen used to preserve the pharaohs contained powerful healing energies. So, entrepreneurs sailed to Egypt, raided tombs, and shipped mummies back to Europe by the crateful, where they were ground into a fine powder, and sold as a panacea for everything from coughs and headaches to bruises and the plague. If you couldn't get authentic Egyptian mummy, local alternatives were available. Powdered human skull was thought to cure head-related ailments, and a type of moss that grew on skeletons was used to stop bleeding. The logic operated on a kind of sympathetic magic. The skull of a healthy young person, for instance, was believed to contain a strong life force that you could absorb. It's the same kind of reasoning as thinking that because a plastic container is good at preserving food, you should eat the container itself to make you live longer. The logic is almost there if you squint really hard and don't think about it too much. So next time you have to swallow a bitter pill, just be grateful it isn't flavored with the dust of a 3,000-year-old accountant from Luxor. Number 2 brings us to a refreshing glass of radiation. In the early 20th century, science was buzzing with the discovery of a magical new element, radium. It glowed in the dark, it produced its own energy, and it seemed to defy the laws of physics. The public was captivated. And in the grand tradition of humanity, finding a powerful new thing and immediately doing something dumb with it, people started putting radium in everything. You could buy radium-laced chocolate, radium toothpaste, and even radium face cream, all promising health and vitality. The peak of this craze was a patent medicine called Radither. It was, quite simply, distilled water containing trace amounts of 2 different radium isotopes. Marketed as a cure for the living dead and perpetual sunshine, it was sold as a high-end energy drink that promised to fix everything from stomach aches to general fatigue. One of its biggest fans was a wealthy American industrialist named Eben Byers. He was so convinced of its benefits that he reportedly drank up to 3 bottles of it every single day for several years, claiming it gave him a wonderfully toned-up feeling. The torture of Radither wasn't quick or obvious. It was a slow, invisible process. With every sip, Byers was depositing highly radioactive material directly into his bones. The radium atoms then began to decay, relentlessly bombarding his cells with alpha particles day and night. It's the medical equivalent of feeling a bit cold and deciding the best solution is to swallow a spoonful of hot embers every morning. The initial idea that energy can be beneficial is there, but the application is a catastrophic failure of common sense. Byers eventually died a gruesome death as his body literally fell apart from the inside. His case was so shocking that it helped kickstart modern medical regulation, proving that sometimes the scariest monster isn't a medieval torturer, but a scientist with a new miracle cure. And at number 1, we have what is possibly the most infamous medical procedure of the 20th century. It's a treatment that won its inventor a Nobel Prize and simultaneously destroyed tens of thousands of lives. It's a surgery so crude, so simple, it was often performed in under 10 minutes using an instrument taken directly from a kitchen icebox. This was the prefrontal lobotomy, championed and aggressively promoted by an American physician named Dr. Walter Freeman. The lobotomy was based on the idea that severe mental illness was caused by overactive and rigid thought patterns in the brain's frontal lobes. His solution was terrifyingly direct: sever those connections. His preferred method didn't even require a traditional operating room. He would have the patient lie down, pull up their eyelid, and insert a long, thin metal pick, literally a modified ice pick, into the corner of their eye socket. With a small mallet, he would tap it through the thin bone plate into the brain and then swish it back and forth. To Freeman, this was a miracle. He believed he was liberating people from their mental anguish. He traveled the country in a van he nicknamed the Lobotomobile, performing thousands of these procedures. While the surgery did often calm severely agitated patients, it came at a devastating cost. It frequently left them passive, emotionless, and with their core personality seemingly erased. The procedure didn't cure the illness. It just destroyed the person who had it. This wasn't a precise, delicate surgery. It was a blind, destructive swipe at the most complex object in the known universe, often with no more forethought than stirring a can of paint. The lobotomy is now the ultimate cautionary tale, a chilling reminder that sometimes the most dangerous thing in the world isn't a villain with an evil plan. It's a doctor with a good intention, a hammer, and far too much confidence. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.